low-cost open source platform for mobile learning in Nepal. We have 6 minutes.
Web survey.
Then at the end of it, we'll have the time for the web survey. I just sent you an email. Please check with the link to provide the feedback afterwards. Okay. You have the floor.
Yeah. Hey, good morning. Like Paula said, my name is Sujan Shrestha and I'm a PhD student from UWL. And my interest is in exploring the use of low-cost open source platform, mobile technology, to support education in developing country. In my case, in the context of Nepal. As many of you know Nepal, but some don't. Nepal, almost more than 80% is high ground, and most of the people live in rural area, and it's one of the poorest countries in the world. And there's a huge urban-rural differences in access to markets, services, and information, and other services. There are many distinct ethnic backgrounds. They speak very different languages, and there's very big diversity in terms of tradition and their culture. So. Now it's like common to think, computing is necessary for education, and giving computers, is kind of fashion in developing world. And even this is the school I studied myself, and now even they have a computer lab in their school. But all the whole time I went, I never saw a single student in the room. It was always, most of the time it was locked or not used. At least I never saw a student in the room. I also went to relatively expensive school. There's like private school, they are a different thing. And they also had a computer lab. But again, every time I went, I never saw students in there. But one of the things I noticed is they always have a carpet in the computer lab. So you meant to take your shoes off like we go in the temple. So, but we know computers are not God, So I don't know why they do that. But in a country like Nepal, there's a big notable disparity in terms of, what we have, what they have access. There are schools, they don't even have a building. There are people, they don't even have access to roads. So, do you want to give them a building? Do you want to give them access to their school? Or do you want to give them a computer in their bag, and they can hang on to the rope? Well, again, now it's interesting. People think, oh, computing is, it's difficult, computers are expensive, so we should look into mobile. And it's good to see the fact like this, especially in mobile learning presentation. People always come up with this sort of slides and say, oh, look, penetration is going up. It's great, so we should do mobile something. Yeah, right. With the internet users, it's very, very low. We have only 6 people out of 100 are using internet. There's not even any data on mobile internet. We don't even know if people are using mobile internet. So. And the good thing is, our Department of Education, they even actually banned, using mobile phone and eating junk food in school. So they think it doesn't do any good to school. So we need to understand these facts. So my interest was, okay, we can't afford expensive devices. We can't go online. We have all sorts of issues. So I want to do something offline, something very simple. And I want to explore these cheap open source devices, which is not as good as iPhone or iPad, but at least hopefully do something. So something very simple. And again, while doing that, even though I come from a computer background, I wanted to take account of the understanding of the local context, and hopefully try to incorporate the technology into the educational process. And the devices that I'm interested in is like one of those offline wiki reader, and another one is pocket computer, which is designed on the copyleft principle, which means they hold the design of this device is free, so people can design another device based on the same principle, and nobody will, prosecute you or do anything. It's based on open source principle. And so my idea was then again take bottom approach, spend time on understanding the user context, education requirement, and then do some device and concept evaluation, and then try to look into activities and practice, and hopefully come up with some sort of recommendation. So this is not impact study, it's just the exploration of these devices. So in public-private school, I looked into general social, cultural, political, and all sorts of general issues, technical issues. And then I also went to LPC school, so I wanted to see how the experience is different, how it's solving some of the problems we have in our normal schooling system. And then I did a main study with those devices for a term. I worked with English teachers. And with, for example, well, these, if they have achieved something, it's because of the supporting infrastructure that's been put by, for example, the oil in Nepal. Otherwise, there is no significant visual impact yet, and it's very difficult to scale and sustain this sort of project. All the schools, they lack all the technological and the other infrastructure. They lack digital resources. They lack local capacity to use systems, this knowledge. And then there is a lack of technical, logistical, financial capability to use and scale and sustain such scale projects. And one of the things I noticed is historically we have social divide based on the industry, caste system, and they still prevail in our society. Schools are divided, public and private schools. We all know about the digital divide, but we can't just tackle digital divide without knowing all these issues. So there are some good, we have to analyze these issues, and I need to find some framework. For example, maybe with the same scalability approach, I can look into this issue and find some connection. And when we approach these ICT 4D projects, we need to come up with better strategy to reduce all this sort of disparity rather than just focusing on digital divide. So at the end of my PhD, I would really like to share my experience of using low-cost these devices, try to understand which factors affect technology adoption, and actually address the distinction of the context, and then hopefully make mobile learning solutions relevant to the local needs. Thank you.
So, Pete, you have the floor and you can bombard him with questions.
I win.
Yeah.
Can I start with asking you, what is your stage now in your study?
I'm writing up really.
First year, second year?
No, third year.
Third year?
Yeah, I've done.
So let me this time. What is your ontological and epistemological stand of explaining this context? This is the first question. Since the context is much complicated, related to power, caste, society, and what is the methodological framework applied to collect the data?
I come from computing civil engineering background. I don't really understand what is ontology, epistemology. I can't even pronounce properly. My basically in computing, I had this context, I had the devices, and I wanted to do basically it's a qualitative study.
You have.
Yeah.
Let me explain and help you. If we just seeing and observing and explaining the situation, this is basically called what should external reality. You is one of the ontological stand.
Okay.
On the other sense, what you trying to bring out elicit the internal context gap, giving technology in the school, not using the showpiece and shows off entering the computer room. What is the internal meaning? This is called the internal reality of the ontological stand. There are probably two stands, there are so many other stands. And similarly, relating with this ontology, that what I would like to know, how is the structure of the world, is the definition of the ontology, the structure of the world, the source of the knowledge. So you could derive the external view, the external perspective, how it is set up, or you could find the inner meaning, how it is consistent. So if you put in your studies, add some value, since it is PhD study, probably you get some feedback. Similarly, epistemological stand also interpret your data as a positivistic view, it is pure mathematical or pure scientific. There is no interpretation, but in interpretation 2 plus 2 make 5. But in mathematical 2 plus 2 4. 2 plus 2 is equal 4.
Yeah,
but in your if you apply the interpretive stand, then sometimes 2 plus 2 is equal 5.
This is more interpretive type of study.
I find interpretive.
Yeah.
So you clear your position in your where you present your study thesis and findings. If my position is so interpretive stand, then that's why I'm explaining.
Okay. Yeah, that's more likely, because if I were to just talk about the devices, I know we even use these devices to teach embedded programming in our school, so we know how devices are like. But when you put the same thing in different contexts, you don't know even if it's going to work or not. So I take the approach of understanding the whole context first, how they teach and learn, what are the issues, what are the other social, cultural, political issues in our country, especially in that sort of environment, if really going to work or not, what they really want, and I had an issue when they didn't want to use it at all, and then trying to understand all that, and and then trying to evaluate the devices in that sense.
The methodological aspect, what umbrella or what methodological approach you would like to collect this data?
Approach, I would say, it's a qualitative study.
It's broad, qualitative action research, qualitative action research, qualitative case study, qualitative observation.
I think it is a case study on its own right, but the methods I use is more like interview, diary studies, and observations. I was there in the classroom most of the time when they were actually doing the study. So formal, informal interviews, and even I had telephone interviews because I couldn't go to some, higher.
Have you gone through IN, YIN is famous for case study. IN. So I'd like to refer you go through, since you apply the case study approach. It's famous. Just YIN is very It's just like for case studies as one of the institutions. You find MISQ and so many.
Yeah, you can tell I'm not good with the theory, so
since
I just like to go and do things.
That's why I'm suggesting.
Absolutely.
This is not my intention to.
No, that's good. That's good. I mean, I can talk to you about this later, and I can get some references, and I can see if I can fit into my thesis somewhere. If it somehow connects. I think that's important.
I also have a question after this, but first.
Okay. No, just let's talk about devices a little bit, because I found very interesting when you show this copyleft thing, and there was something about that they can use it offline. It's like you retrieve some information while you're online, and then you keep it offline, or how it works, like for education purposes, how it's used.
In terms of device, for example, WikiReader is from OpenMoko. They are the company who come up with the first open copyleft mobile phone, and which I have as well. But this, for example, WikiReader is totally offline. It's only text based. It doesn't support audio, video, nothing. But the good thing is it runs with the two AA, AAA battery. It can last up to 1 year if you use like 15 minutes a day. So for a country like mine, in a remote places where there is no electricity, I think that would be useful. So right now, the putting software content into device is not easy. You have to compile the content with the software, in your Ubuntu or Linux computer, and then you put in a micro SD, and then you can, put in the device. So that needs to be simplified, of course, in terms of developing software. And with the NanoNode, it's the first pocket small computer which is based on totally copyleft principle. The designs are totally free and online. So the idea is you can use the design, and if you have resources, you can build devices. But the only catch is you have to open the design again. You can't use the proprietary licenses on the top of it, because that's what copyleft is all about. So I think it's a good way to develop devices. Even the poor can develop devices hopefully in 10 years time, And again, that there are problems with these sort of devices because they are very low-level devices. It doesn't support high-level programming languages. So you have to work with Linux and C type of languages. So there are lots of technical problems. But again, with the content, yes, So the idea is put your content, all necessary content, as part of your curriculum in the device, and then you can use in the classroom. So I was using more for listening activities as part of the English subject, and I digitized everything and put it in the content, and they had in the pocket. And they were used with the small Chinese speaker. They just come up with that idea. And also they were saying if you can use the Tigo projector, for example, because it's a computer on its own, we can use it. I don't know if you notice, like in our classroom, there's a fan, but there is no switch. All the switches are in the headmaster office because they think it's gonna mess with the switches. So even if you give them a good projector, there's no way to plug in. So simple things like that cause problem. And I'm even trying to set up an offline digital library in my school by raising funding myself. It's something I really wanted to do. The idea is you have, a digital library on the server, and you have and then the router in the places, so you can download the content in your laptop or your computer or in the lab itself, and then you can read offline without requiring any internet, thing. So yeah, I think offline solution works more than the online. So that's the basic idea, and very simple.
I have a burning curiosity about the computer lab that you showed.
Yeah.
It was always empty.
Yeah.
Did you ask the teachers or the pupils why was it empty so often?
Most of the time it was locked, even just empty, it's just locked. I couldn't even find the computer teachers. And then because the one of the concepts they have is computer is for teaching Word and Excel, It's not for any other subject. That's I think is a big problem. They think it's just for learning how to. And I was trying to tell them it's not. You need to use computer for many other subjects.
But what I'm saying is, did you feel by interviewing the teachers that they were sort of upset, pissed off that the lab was not accessible more, or they just didn't care?
They didn't care. Many of them didn't care. There are some, again, it comes to the intent, isn't it? The motivation, the intent factor. Some of them have a good intent to use and wanted to use. Some of them, they just didn't care. So one of the school I went to, they just ignored my idea. They're like, look, I don't have time for this. I've been teaching for 20 years with using my book. Why should I use this? And then one of them actually asked me, "Are you going to pay me?"
Okay.
I said, "What? I'm a student, I'm not going to pay you for using my devices." I said, "I came to help you." So yeah, you get all sorts of unexpected problems into it. So, but again, there are some curious teachers, and I think it's good.
Just one quick one, because
I just want to comment on, because 15 years ago maybe I experienced the same problem as you, and I call it ignorance out of arrogance, usually. That's why the lab is not used. Just short comment.
You keep it for the next one, because we have completely
That's great. That's great.
Slot. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you very much.
Now I ask you to check your email. You should have received an email with a link.
No.
No? Can you check it again? Because Siraj did
From
send
Siraj
it again.
we have some email.
Eh?
From Siraj we got
Yeah,
an email.
I mean, yeah.
Both of us are sent. Can you please recheck it?
Yeah. I got your email, yeah.
Okay, so you click on the link. Let's see if I can reach it from here.
Sujan.
Hello.
Good work.
Yeah, it's just a simple study. I did, yeah. It was part of my study. I went to I went to few. I couldn't go to all because it's very difficult in our country to travel. All PC? Oh yeah, it was good. It's been 5-6 years now. It's running very well. Yeah, we have about 20 or 30 schools. It's been looked after by organizations called OLE Nepal, Open Learning Exchange.
What my presentation is about.
Oh.
We have a pilot project in Sri Lanka.
Okay. Yeah, you should. We can talk about it. It's a good. I
Looking forward to this subject.
I've done it. No, for this
Oh, you mean you did it work? The comment thing?
yes.
Siraj, could you put it also on the page or just on
The slides?
No, is it possible to reach the feedback page from here?
No, it is quite restricted because
Okay,
it doesn't have the public access.
okay. So,
You have to log in through your password.
okay, how many of you did get to this page with the feedback links? Please, raise your hand. Well done. Yeah, those who have been able, please start to answer the questions, to give feedback to Sujan, please. And those who haven't,
How much did you?
okay.
Joseph? Maybe you refresh your inbox.
Use my email.
Yeah.
The password.
The password
So
will be,
you should have access to the IPID site. If you don't have, please clear. This will take 30 seconds.
You have the page.
yeah, just go and remind the password, reset password if you forgot.
This shouldn't be the public because anyone can give it that.
So once you get that page, where do you want?
No, you don't have to go to that page. It's just through the
the
direct
link?
link.
Yeah, yeah.
But Siraj, it would be good if you could make a quick edit here so that they get to. I mean, I don't think in these 2 days many people will visit there if
Okay.
it's not us.
So let me make it public.
Yeah.
Don't tell your friends to
No.
do the encode. Yeah.
Do you have your presentation already on that? What if on that computer or on your own?
Just click on the forget password. You will get one. You should know it first.
I think you should.
No, it's your password. You get it later.
Oh,
the one that is
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's a low. It doesn't support like apps. So things like that. So
It's not a smartphone. What can you do? But you buy these devices very constructive.
yeah, it comes as a computer. It's like a small Linux.
Okay, because you're pleased with that?
So yeah. Because
So
it's
Paolo?
a new device.
I'm fine, okay, yeah.
Who sells that?
Yes?
Can I make it public now for the time being?
How
Yeah.
much does it
It's $100.
It's $100. But you can buy it online. I think that's
It's a G hardware.
I'm totally
This guy is
right.
yeah. Basically, you have to work with your Ubuntu or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, because you can't work on Windows and you have a program.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah. So and then
Give me the link, I will read more about it. But if you just write
yeah.
the link.
If you just even if you just search